Anna has all probably in the entire state of California. So, and our staff here also will discuss the feasibility study and explain that it is open for comments by you, the public, in regarding analysis and alternatives to addressing the groundwater contamination. And I will be around here also if you have any questions about any community services stuff. Here to give you an opportunity to ask a few questions about the public safety and anything regarding our wonderful and strong and heroes of our Santa Ana Police Department. We have three of our very own men and women in blue, and I apologize, I left my cheat sheet on my table, but I do remember it was Officer Quijas right over there. And are you gonna come up and just say hello? Sure, okay, so it's Officer Quijas, Nicole Quijas, Officer Mario Esparza, and Officer Esteban Guillen. If you would like to come up and maybe introduce yourselves and say a few words to the community.
Thank you. Like Councilwoman said, my name is Corporal Nicole Quijas. Can you guys hear me? Officer Mario Esparza and Officer Esteban Guillen. We are assigned to the Southeast District where you all live. So I'm not sure if you're all familiar, but that covers everywhere south of First Street and east of Flower. So my particular team, we work 2 in the afternoon till 2:30 in the morning, but the police department does have coverage from 6 to 6:30, 2 to 2:30, and then 6 at night until 6:30 in the morning. So you'll see different people. We do go citywide, but our concern is primarily the Southeast District where you all live. So like she was saying, it's been nice to see this park in particular. The kids are back playing. The police department was here for the movie night. It was pretty busy. It was nice to see the community out and enjoying that, as well as all the activities that they have here at the Delhi Center. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask us now, or I left my email address. Sorry, I have a radio in my ear. I left my email address with Margarita and she can give it to you. Feel free to email me anytime. I do work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and occasional weekends. So we're kind of all over the place, but I will get back to you with any questions or concerns that you guys might have. Anything at this moment? Okay, so nice to see all of you and meet you. Hopefully when we're out in the field, you'll talk to us and see us out on the streets and wave. We'd love to meet you guys. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So we are going to start with the first item on the agenda for the Delhi meeting. We have Public Works who will give a brief update on the Warner Improvement Project. Kenny?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kenny Nguyen from the Public Works Department. So tonight I want to give you an update of what's going on with the Warner Avenue widening project. Next slide. Thank you. So Warner Avenue is the limit is Main Street on the west side and Grand Avenue on the east side. So in the past, many years I've been kind of giving an update for the phase 1. We are focused on the phase 1 right now is from Main Street to Oak Street. Oak Street, Main Street. So as you driving through Warner Avenue, like especially toward Main Street nearby the Wells Fargo, you see a lot of construction all the way to nearby Oak Street. So right now we designed, do the engineering stuff from 2015. We acquired the right of way, the property that we need for the widening in 2017. And now we are here. We start construction in summer of 2021. We are getting close to complete all the wet utilities work, including like the storm drain, water. Oops, sorry. So all the wet utilities are going to be complete around August of this year. So after that, it's starting like August of this year all the way to next summer, will be dry utility, meaning that all the overhead pole from Main Street to Oak Street, we go underground. And then after that, then the city will come back and do the landscape, irrigation, sidewalk, pavement, everything complete, like the final configuration of the street. So 3 lane each direction plus the bike lane, new sidewalk, ADA ramp, traffic signal, landscape, everything, and street light too. So for phase 1 on the city website, but I also posted here too, is there a dedicated phone number for the phase 1 construction. So if you have any question, inquiry, you could call that number on the slide right here. It's also available on the website. So 714-647-5658. Or you could also email too. It's pretty easy to remember. So the street name is Warner@santa-ana.org. And as you can see right here, that's the city website, and you can see more info about the latest update on Warner Avenue project. So as you can see right now, we're doing a lot of storm drain work in the area. So you might not see from the street, but you walk nearby, you could see like some of the work that we're doing right here. That's a big storm drain that's 14 feet wide by 6 feet tall. So pretty big. So you could see people standing there, quite a few people standing there. All right, so for phase 2 is everything from Oak Street. So Oak Street, like right this street right here, Oak Street onto the left, all the way to Grand Avenue. So similar concept. So right now, where we are at is we are still have about 5 more property to acquire, but we also coordinate with the utility company like SCE, AT&T to coordinate with the pole relocation. So we are planning to start construction in spring of 2023. So once again, my name is Kenny. That's my direct phone number if you have any further questions. And that's the city website for the Warner. That concludes my update. So you have further questions?
Construction on water on Main, north and south of Warner, is that related to this or something else?
So along Main Street, there's a separate project. That's the water and main and some sewer improvements. So that's what they call it. That's part of what they call a South Main project.
Go back to the previous slide.
Further question?
Where's the expected termination date? When do you have, like I said, completed?
So everything by the end of phase 2 is up to Grand Avenue is planned completion around 2025.
So let's say it works with this contract. Do you guys think to take into consideration like rush hour and, you know, night shifts, weekend work? Is it is during like regular rush hour, all that construction creates a mess for like entire city. I'm not talking about Warner.
Mhm.
So do you guys take into consideration that because the signage is just horrible. You don't know what to turn, where where it's slowing down. It's just I never seen anything like that. I mean, I travel all over the place and the signage, the information to the public is really poor.
So if you have certain specific question, you could email me or give me a call. I would have, go there and check it out. I know that we have a lot of construction project going on citywide. So that's actually a good news because the city of Santana, let hear me out. We rely on a lot of grant funding. So there's a lot of construction going on. That means that we were able to successfully apply and receive funding to do improvement in the city. So I know that we just want to ask for your patience. By the end of the day, when the project is complete, there's kind of improve a lot of things, include safety. That's one of our main concerns. Address a lot of ADA issue, and also make it beautify the area and the street too. On top of that, so there's a lot of improvement that we always at a lot of neighborhood meeting. We gather feedback from the resident in different, like our 64 neighborhood, and also from city official. We listen to them, and annually we kind of identify what type of funding we go after, we are applying for. I know that you feel like, there's a lot of going on, but keep in mind, a lot of project in the city for public works, we rely on grant funding. We don't use general fund on most of our capital improvement program projects out there.
I don't think the concern is where the money is coming from. I think the concern is why is there so much construction going on around the city at the same time? And who decided that?
So basically, when we apply for grant funding, they have certain deadlines that we need to meet. And it's for certain specific project that we have to target for. Let's say for water, when we apply, we focus on water, and we have certain amount of time to finish the project. So if we don't use it, we lose it. So that's why we kind of try to kind of spread out the project, but sometimes we might not have that chance to do so. As a public work, the engineer is sitting down and plan on those projects out. So those are the feedback that we want to hear. But as I said, like we try our best to try. I know there's some inconvenience during the construction, but as I said, by the end of the day, when this, let's say for this water coming out, when it's complete, you will get like new water lines, like ladder. We need like safety. We have dedicated bike lane. We have ADA compliance. So now no longer that there's certain segment that people on stroller or on wheelchair, they don't have to get onto the street to go around those poles that in the way.
I was wondering, do you live in the city and do you have to go through that every morning and every afternoon?
I have to go through that every day to go to work. So
Do you live in the city?
I live next city over Tustin. Yes.
Nada más quiero preguntar si como es difícil manejar por la main, se van a la Orange y los carros no respetan los círculos que pusieron ahí y ya los andaron no hay manera de poner algunos topes o algo porque pasan muy veces, no es seguro.
Maybe some construction, now they use orange, that's the street believes in, and they don't respect the speed limit in the roundabouts. So they're going fast and it's asking. Bumps. Speed bumps.
On Orange, like on south of Warner, north of Warner. East of, yeah. Orange is north and south, but like, are we talking about the segment south of Warner or the north? South.
No, it's north. The roundabouts are north of Warner.
Okay, so in order for the speed bump, I just want to explain the process. So we will go out there and analyze the speed on that corridor first, and then we have certain kind of scoring criteria to make sure that it's safety for to install speed hump before we could install it. So I will, after tonight, tomorrow, I will go back and discuss with our traffic division to make sure that they do some analysis before we could determine whether a speed hump is appropriate for Orange Avenue. Hold on. Yes.
Drains and streets because the drains.
Drainage?
So the question is, there's a lot of drainage flooding in the area. So as I said, oh, this is a new storm drain that we installed along Warner right here. This is 14 feet by 6 feet. There's a lot of contain a lot of water. So by the completion of the project, there will be more water that they could contain in this system.
I didn't hear from it. From Warren, but always when I try to raise them, the driveway, there's a waiver.
So that will help.
Right, so that feedback, and we also analyzed the city drainage issue in the city. Remember doing back in 2014-15 when we went to the neighborhood to gather feedback. We also doing that 2016, there's a big storm, there's flooding in that area. That's why we analyze and we come up with this system to address some of the storm drainage flooding issue in the area. I guess.
Last one, yeah.
Oh, so last one.
Last one.
Okay. So back into regards to the speed bumps, because I live on Orange as well. Is there a difference between like an actual speed bump and let's say like I've seen in other places where they do like those little dots that are raised?
It's similar concept. I mean, to slow down the traffic, but as I said, like in order to install those devices on there, it's still slow down the traffic. It's kind of like part of the common feature that we install on the street. But as I said, like we have to analyze to make sure that it's feasible for those streets. We cannot just randomly install speed hump everywhere. So that's why we have certain criteria that we're going through first. Oh, one more question.
I kind of have it based on their questions. That roundabout that's already getting feasible, you guys put it in, it's now there. It's doing, I guess, what it's supposed to do, which is kind of slow down traffic. The problem is it's not beautifying the neighborhood. All the posts are knocked over, they're graffiti, most of them are knocked over. Nobody comes and replaces them and puts them back up. So it looks like they're all just kind of torn. Nobody ever comes and refurbishes them.
So part of that, we actually annually we have certain amount of funding to kind of go around and inspect and kind of update those things. So I would bring that feedback along Orange about that device so that our maintenance and our traffic aware about that, so that we could be noted down part of the backlog to be taken care of.
I hate to interrupt Kenny, but on Orange, so my name is Rudy Rosas. Just on those. Sorry, just so that the community knows, we are aware. My name is Rudy Rosas. I'm with the city water department, but it's part of Public Works, and I'm very aware of the challenges and all the, capital improvement work. I live in the city, grew up in the city. And so, I feel I've got a good understanding of the challenges we're facing, but specifically for those traffic circles there on Orange, it's the striped kind with cones. It's not the fully built curb with bulb outs. Okay. Which is why, and I'm not the biggest fan of those myself, right? But our public works director, city engineer has heard. As a matter of fact, we've been tasked to already start looking into what we can do. City council just approved a budget that allows a certain amount of funding to make those traffic circles into real traffic circles like you see in other parts of the city where they're curved with landscaping and work a lot better. So we can't right now promise a time frame as to when those kind of issues will be addressed. It takes a while to plan this all out and make sure the funding that we can stretch the dollars to hit as many intersections as possible. But I just want you all to understand that we do hear that and we understand where you're coming from and we're working.
Thank you.
I just want to say that they're really the ones in orange, they're eyesores compared, I go to St. John's Church, Civic Center. That's like a nice runabout.
Correct.
And these ones are really a horrible thing to look at and drive through. Yeah, day and night, and we don't say why.
I agree. We are looking into that.
I'm sorry, Kenny, I'm gonna have to cut you off.
Sí, puedo dar mi opinión. Yo después de hace rato
Sí.
tratando que no puedo yo porque soy mexicano que no sé inglés.
Está
Nomás
bien,
quiero
señor.
que me conteste. Usted sabe inglés, español y ella también.
Sí,
Tengo rato y se quiero hablar, no me hace caso. Probablemente porque soy mexicano.
no es porque es mexicano.
Entonces, hágame caso y interprete. Yo vivo en la Adams.
En la Adams, ok.
Sí, ahí aparece el freeway, también igual. Desde que pusieron todo esto en la Main, en la Bristol, en todo esto, que estaban tumbando todo eso, ya aparece el freeway en mi calle. Ajá, ya está ahí. Andan ahí los carros y les digo, con cuidado hay niños y van a ver, ¿qué le importa, viejo? Váyase a trabajar. Hasta grosero se pone. No es porque le digo que vayan despacio. Y toda la noche, mire, parece que es freeway. Le pusieron todo ese tramo allí. Digo, para hacer eso, tienen que primero ver las calles que transitan en las áreas, la Main, la Warner, la Dyer, ¿verdad? Porque aquí es una bajada de freeway. Tiene más transitar los carros, todo para allá, para ese lado, para acá, Santana. Aquí está probado por los mexicanos, también aquí americanos no hay nadie en casa. Vivimos puros latinos y no nos hacen caso. Estoy seguro que aquí, en el área donde yo vivo, no hay ningún latino aquí que vive en toda esta área, no veo ningún vecino. Ajá. Tengo yo 50 años viviendo en esa calle y de que pusieron todo eso, todo acá, es perdón ustedes aquí es un desmadre aquí en mi calle. ¿Qué dicen? Váyanse a trabajar, viejo. Si no sabe, yo trabajé 70 años trabajando en este país, del año 1970 que estoy aquí.
Mira, can you help to?
No, que no tengo derecho yo de hablarles.
Sí, señor, pero usted está tomando mucho para que ella pueda también explicarlo a los que no hablan inglés, digo español.
Sí, por eso les.
Coge, Linda, coge.
He mentioned Adams too, and ever since we had their project started, Adams is like the big stop. They go really fast and he tells everybody to slow down. There are kids on the street playing and they just telling us, you shut up, go back to work. You know, it's not none of your business. It's trying to help the community.
So Kenny, is that something that you can,
So I will get your feedback and I will go back similar to Orange to see what else can we do with your situation to help you resolve some of the concern that you have.
señor, entonces es la velocidad, falta de respeto, ¿verdad? Cuando están manejando por la Adams entre la Halliday o todo el estrecho y la Main. Okay, so from Halliday to Main along Adams, el otro lado de la vía del tren. Okay, very good. Thank you, señor. Thank you.
Este lado del domingo. Desde el año 1973 yo vivo ahí.
Ajá.
Nunca había pasado esto hasta que empezaron con todo ese práctica que andan haciendo. Salió en el periódico en el año 1975 que iban a hacer del 5 de allá eso hasta acá, que iban a hacer eso. Todo lo que van haciendo hasta ahora, después de casi 70 años.
Yeah, he's heard about the project. It was going to be started from the 5 freeways, like from a long time ago. But he's also saying that he's been impacted greatly. Never has he experienced that before until recently, even though he's been here since the 70s. Okay, thank you, Senor. We're going to continue. The second part of this meeting is to talk about something equally important, which is the protection of the groundwater, right? So, anyway, thank you, Kenny. Kenny will be back for more updates when the neighborhood meets again, but let's move on to the next part, okay? Gracias, Kenny. So-
So I'm sorry to interrupt such a lively conversation and an important one, of course. Hopefully, you'll find this particular part of the presentation equally as important. So I don't know how familiar everyone is with where your water comes from. My name is Bill Lever. I'm the project manager for the South Basin Groundwater Protection Project. Welcome. So Orange County Water District, and I was asked the question earlier this evening, doesn't supply water to your faucets. What we do is we manage the groundwater basin in the northern and central part of Orange County. Does everyone know what groundwater is? Right below us, 20 feet or so below us, is water. And that water exists within the sands and the gravels and the clays for thousands of feet beneath us. So this diagram kind of is a cartoonish representation of Orange County Water District's activities and what we do. So you can see this represents our groundwater basin. Our groundwater basin has been conceptually divided into 3 units. We have what's called a shallow unit here, a principal unit here, and a deep unit here. The water that comes into our basin is supplied to us through the Santa Ana River. The water is held behind Prado Dam. I don't know if you're familiar with Prado Dam, but near Santa Ana Canyon. That water is metered out into the Santa Ana River, and then it goes back into the groundwater basin, flows towards Santa Ana, and is pumped out by the retail agencies, Anaheim, Fullerton, Santa Ana, all the retail water agencies within our service area. There are 19 of those retail water agencies, and they serve about 2.5 million residents water. A big portion of our water supply is what's called the groundwater replenishment system. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with the groundwater replenishment system, but what it does is it takes all of the water that's used inside of our households. All of that water flows to Orange County Sanitation District. The Sanitation District treats that water, and then it flows to what's called the groundwater replenishment system. It goes through another level of treatment, and then is pumped all the way back up to the Anaheim Fullerton area, where it percolates back down into the groundwater. We also, about 77% of our water comes from the groundwater, and the other 33% or 23% comes from imported water from the Colorado River or from the State Water Project up at the Delta, the Sacramento Delta. Okay, so the South Basin groundwater contamination. Let me just quickly show you where it is. So this black outline represents Orange County Water District's service area. The blue line here is the Santa Ana River that flows from Prado Dam, which is up in this area, all the way down through the central part of Orange County out to Huntington, Newport Beach area. We have the 55 freeway that runs north-south here. And then this red outline is what we call the study area for the South Basin. And there's John Wayne Airport right here. So that should give you an idea of where we are. And right now we're about in this part of it right here. So the Delhi neighborhood is right on the western edge of our study area. And that's why we're here meeting with you tonight, because we're going to tell you about groundwater contamination that exists in this area. So industrial chemicals have impacted the shallow part of the groundwater. We're working on ways to clean that up, along with the people that are responsible for putting that contamination into the groundwater in the first place. And one of the reasons that came to our attention is because a water well, an Irvine Ranch Water District well, had very low levels of contaminants detected in that water well back in 2004. So we've been working on this project for quite a while. So we're going to take a close up into the aquifer. The aquifer is just a term we use to represent the water that's within the sediment beneath us. So like I said, we have a shallow aquifer unit that goes down to about 200 feet below us. We have a principal aquifer unit that goes to a depth of about 1,000 feet, and then a deep aquifer unit that goes to a depth of several thousand feet. Industrial sites from the late 50s to, I want to say, the early 90s, their manufacturing operations resulted in chemicals being spilled onto the ground surface, intentionally being dumped onto the ground surface. And those contaminants move down through the soil, down to the water table, that's the depth at which water occurs, and then contaminated, dissolved into the groundwater in this shallow unit. These big blue arrows generally represent the way groundwater flows, and in this area, groundwater flows from the north, this direction, to the south, this direction, down towards the coast. So we have installed multiple groundwater monitoring wells. The release sites are also responsible for investigating their contamination. They've installed hundreds and hundreds of monitoring wells to monitor the extent of these contaminants that exist in the shallow aquifer. The drinking water wells from which our water comes from, Irvine Ranch Water District, City of Santa Ana, all of those wells draw water from these deeper uncontaminated aquifer units. And we actively monitor the water quality in both the shallow aquifers and the drinking water wells themselves. So I think somebody's already mentioned it. We just want to reassure you that the water that the City of Santa Ana pumps is safe and serves to you is safe. It meets all federal requirements for drinking water quality. Those requirements are shown in what's called an annual water quality report that the City of Santa Ana is required to produce. Excuse me. And like I said before, all of the contamination exists within the shallow aquifer from which your water isn't pumped from. So what does Orange County Water District do? We monitor through hundreds and hundreds of wells throughout the basin. We monitor water quality on a regular basis. We analyze at our water quality laboratory for over 500 chemicals in those samples that we collect. We collect over 20,000 samples a year and produce over 400,000 water quality results from those samples. So the South Basin groundwater, what are we doing? So we have just prepared what's called a feasibility study, which is a plan to really evaluate methods to control the spread and remove the contamination from the groundwater. Prior to that, we had prepared what's called a remedial investigation, which is part of this investigation by installing monitoring wells to determine the depth, the lateral extent, the concentrations of these contaminants within the South Basin. The regulatory agencies involved in this are called the Department of Toxic Substances Control and the Regional Water Quality Control Board. They both are under the umbrella of Cal EPA, or California's Environmental Protection Agency. And depending upon the site locations, it could be DTSC or, Regional Water Quality Control Board. who is in charge of regulating each individual, they will call them responsible parties for the contamination. So we finished with the remedial investigation that is completed and has gone through regulatory review. We are currently have a draft feasibility study out for public review. Comments are due on that July 6th. So there's not much time left in the public comment period. And I'll provide a link to to this particular document at the end of the presentation. So we looked at 6 remedial alternatives. One of the remedial alternatives is not an alternative, it's a no action alternative. It is a baseline alternative. If we didn't do anything, what would happen? Several other alternatives were evaluated. I'm not going to go into the details of all of them. The alternative that ranked the highest among the 6 is alternative 3, which is called a groundwater extraction and treatment system. It pumps groundwater, the contaminated groundwater out. That groundwater will go into the sewer system where it will flow down to Orange County Sanitation District. It will then be treated at the sanitation district and come to us at the groundwater replenishment system, which I already mentioned. That is another level of treatment where all the contaminants will be removed. And that water then gets pumped back up to the Anaheim-Fullerton area where it's recharged into the ground. We're only talking about 350 or so gallons per minute of water being pumped out from the entire remediation system. It's a very small volume of water relatively to the amount of water used in the basin. So next steps, like I said, the draft feasibility study is currently out for review. Comments are due on July 6th. The district will then review and address all of the stakeholder comments. After that, we'll prepare what's called an interim remedial action plan. The public will then get an opportunity to review that remedial action plan. That will be the one plan that we've decided is the most appropriate, and we're going to put forward to our board of directors for their approval. Following that, it will go into a design and construction process. It's likely several years out. We anticipate that the interim remedial action plan will be out sometime in early 2023, and then it'll go into that design and construction process. As I said, we're here because some of these remediation systems are going to, and I know you're not going to want to hear this, are designated for Warner Avenue. Some are designated along Dyer Road. So I know you don't want to hear this, but there will be some, if those systems are built, there will be some impacts at some point. We're trying to coordinate with the city to make sure that we minimize those types of impacts.
What time?
So it will be much less than what's going on now, but traffic, it'd be like we'd have a 1 lane closed to drill wells. Yeah. Yeah, we'll put pumps in along the street. They'll be tied together through a manifold and then go to one single sewer discharge point. So that concludes the presentation. Any questions?
I don't know if it makes sense, but in my mind, I'm thinking you guys are going to be bringing up the groundwater, pushing it into the sewer system, pushing it out to go get cleaned.
Yes.
Is this contaminated groundwater going to possibly bring up gases that are working the breathing in these lines over Warner and Dyer?
No.
We're driving by. And
No, these would all be fully contained systems. Once the system is built, there's no opportunity. The only real exposure, potential exposure, would be during the actual construction process when we're drilling the wells into the contaminated soils and those come to the surface. But it's very short term and it's very minor. And part of the health and safety protocols that are established even during these types of activities, people are out there with real-time monitors monitoring the air constantly. Yes, sir.
I have two questions. I think the first one, so you said the comments are due on July 6th, right?
Yes.
So that means we have a week.
Yeah, yes, sounds about right.
So why is there like so little time to comment?
Well, so the feasibility study has been out for public review since April 6th. So it's been a 90-day review period.
What was done to make the community aware about it?
So we sent it to what's called our Stakeholder Advisory Group. It's comprised of many stakeholders. So our notification was to Nabil Saba, he's the Public Works Director at City of Santa Ana, is notified through our webpage. We did not notify, I don't know that we notified on an individual basis, everybody in the area.
Did anyone else here know that there was a draft to make comments on?
Yes, but I only received it last week on Thursday or Friday.
Only one person.
Okay.
And then my second question, because it looks like a lot of this that you're cleaning up is being done like after it's contaminated. Is there anything done to be proactive about the sources of contamination? Because I'm aware of at least one facility about 2 blocks away that's already been, that continues to be cited for dumping contaminants into the water. So does the water district do anything like to be proactive to prevent that type of contamination?
The water district doesn't have any jurisdiction over how these individual property owners operate. Those are regulated by the Regional Water Quality Control Board and the Department of Toxic Substances Control. What we're doing is to address, and all of the sites that are known to have contamination already have orders from those individual agencies to clean up their properties. But what they're not doing is addressing the contamination that's moved off of their properties in the groundwater. And that's what the Orange County Water District's goal is to clean up the groundwater that, or the groundwater contamination that exists beyond the responsible party sites.
So the Department of Toxic Substance Control, and what's the other one?
Regional Water Quality Control Board.
So they're the ones that have to make sure it doesn't go down, sit down, like down.
It doesn't spread from the actual property, because that's what they're responsible for, their actual location of the property, and you guys are getting involved because of the.
There was, so I just want to be clear. The property owners that have contaminated the groundwater are responsible for all of the contamination.
I get that, but I mean, like preventative measures, so that doesn't happen. And so let's say if they're contaminating, like what's being done to make sure they don't contaminate, so that it doesn't end up down the river. Is that like, does the Department of Toxic Substance Control oversee that? Is it the Regional Water Quality Board?
If you're talking about people actually dumping chemicals into, let's say, a storm channel or something like that, is that what you're talking about, like a surface channel?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about physically putting it in the ground? Either way, the Regional Water Quality Control Board is the responsible agency and does the oversight for that. Yes, sir.
So, my name is Jose Rea. I'm with the Madison Park Neighborhood Association, which is just north of us, north of you. We're neighbors. And we have been dealing with some issues for the last 4 years that I think that impact all of us in a way that I think you should be aware of. Because in a recent open house for the city, we have the Orange County Environmental Justice, the Water District, the Regional Water District, the Madison Park, looking at different things, air pollution, soil pollution, and water pollution. And guess what? Our maps of the pollution overlap in the east side of Santana. So Delhi and Madison Park, we have all the 3 different types of contamination. And so we need to be aware because it's a very serious public health issue that impacts everybody. We breathe in stuff every day. There's a cleanup by the Department of Toxic Substance Control in Pomona, which is just north of us. It was a former metal plating company. There's several carcinogens that have been found in the water and in the soil. And this is, they were spraying bathroom features with chrome and copper and other. They contaminated the soil and the water. And and it's being cleaned up by the Department of Special Control. And that property was rented out to be used as a church, believe it or not. And it's right next to a restaurant. And this is something that is coming your way because you're south of us. So whatever is in the soil, whatever is in the water, whatever is in the air is coming to you. So what I want to invite you guys is to participate with us on our research that we're doing with the university expert, and we're placing monitors in your homes, if you allow it, to find out what is it that we are breathing, what is in our soil and what is in our water. Because we cannot wait 10 years to find out what is in it and those studies. So if you're interested in working with us, please let us know. Leonel and myself are here. I know this is your meeting and we apologize for the interference, but I think this is a good opportunity for us to understand that this is a big, huge issue. All right. And we need to understand also that we need to elect officials to the city that will put a top priority on public health. Our health should be a top priority. Not the businesses, not who's going to contribute to my campaign, but our health and the health of our children, especially those that have asthma and those people that with pulmonary disease that are getting old like me. And so we need to be aware of that. Okay, so just we need to work together on this issue.
You want to also mention what you're doing is fireworks, but this is all the same.
No, actually, we do a lot more than fireworks. So what we're doing with the fireworks is we're gonna take samples during the 4th of July to see how the air quality changes due to the fireworks. So this is really secondary. It's actually, this is our second grant that we get from the California Air Resource Board, CAR. And we're looking at, that's one of the things, we're looking at noise, we're looking at air, we're looking at particulate matter, we're looking at volatile, looking at metals. And we got, so our neighborhood association is working with the US EPA, the Cali EPA, the FAR, and also the Department of Justice to get an inventory, what's in our soil, what's in our air, and what's in our water. Because I think that thing is killing us slowly. And when it is invisible, and we're not aware of it.
For air seems simple.
Is that?
They get a monitor in the air in this area for July.
We have monitors all over the city, and we are placing more.
Yeah, so currently we have a system of purple air monitors. If you look it up on Google, you can see the monitors right now on your phone. And we're looking for places to set more across the city. Right now here in the Delhi neighborhood, we have one, but we would like more. And then we have other mobile monitors that we use that we're using for the 4th of July monitoring. But like you said, that's more of a secondary because regardless of the fireworks, we still have air pollution going on that we think is coming from a lot of these industries, aside from the groundwater contamination. So that's why we're looking for people that are interested in being part of the research.
The other question that I have, as you know from my discussion, I'm an ex-Dow chemical employee.
So you want to know what's in the water?
Yes, I fought the carbon toxic substance in the past of our problems we have now.
The primary contaminants are what are called trichloroethylene and perchloroethylene or tetrachloroethylene,
The use of solvents.
1,4-dioxane, and perchlorate.
Now, I love the idea of pumping it down, whether you're, I'd also say, if you guys ever get a chance, go on the site of the groundwater replenishing system that they have, see how well they can filter out the contaminants. It's very impressive to see that.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem I have is the amount of time it takes to get a project like this going.
Yeah.
Because right now, listen to you're still several years out before we get to that point.
Well, I'll tell you, there's been a lot of litigation involved. We've settled with a number of the responsible parties for sums to help fund the remediation of this project. So it's not passed on to the taxpayer. It's being paid for by the responsible parties. So that you can imagine has slowed down the district's progress in implementing a solution. Yes,
Once
ma'am.
it started, once you guys actually start the digging. and
You won't even know. Oh, okay.
How long will it take to be completed?
The actual construction, so it'd likely be done in just in phases.
No, not the construction, the actual cleanup.
Oh, long, it'll take longer than my lifetime.
for this whole area?
Yeah.
Is that your intention of whole? Yeah, I kind of understand the process because I live on Standard and there is a Standard project remediation going on there as
They
well.
take years and years and
And
years,
they just started. this,
decades.
I don't know, April or just recently within the past year. And they told me it's gonna look like a 9-year project, 10-year project. And I kind of slowly trying to understand how that works and why it's only done in short increments every time it's removed. So this
So-
kind of sounds like the same thing.
So you have to think about who's implementing the project. So if a responsible party is implementing the project, their main goal is to get it done as quickly and as cheaply as possible.
That's not the safest route either.
It's not the safest, but they want to spend the least amount of money possible to meet the minimum requirements of whatever the regular, so they may just operate a system for a couple of years and then apply to the regulatory agencies to say, hey, we're done. And then they'll go back and forth with the regulatory agencies and they'll say, no, okay, we're gonna try this other method then. We are gonna put a system in that once it's in, you won't know it's there, but it will operate for decades.
Does that mean like there's so much contamination in it, that's why it takes so long to get it out?
Not necessarily, it's more a function of the physical makeup of the underground aquifer. You have these contaminants bound to the soils. And just because you pump it, doesn't mean it all comes out at once, it just slowly comes out. So it's to remove the contaminants and control the spread of the contaminants, which is our main goal. Right now, those contaminants, like I said, are in the shallow aquifer system. And they're not impacting the drinking water wells, but we want to make sure that as it moves further towards the coast, that it doesn't then merge with what's called our principal aquifer system.
And so again, Rudy, with the city's water department, and just really, I'm here to reiterate that message that yes, the contamination exists, but it does not exist in the water that we're drinking, right? Our wells are pumping from areas where it's not contaminated. We take 13,000 water quality samples a year to monitor for this stuff. And then one little extra piece about that is we actually don't have any groundwater wells in the area where this contamination is. All of our water that we provide to the community actually comes from different parts of the city. So our, again, lifelong resident, work here, love what I do. This is one of my favorite things to claim, Santa Ana, for all of our faults, has one of the best quality waters in the United States. Best tasting, best quality, hands down. What we are drinking as a community is one of the, some of the best stuff out there. So.
Yes, sir.
Yo quiero saber qué tan seguro es el agua para tomar, porque hace tiempo yo usaba agua de la llave para tomar café y hubo un día de que esa agua sabía diferente, tenía un olor diferente y estoy cansado de que los concejales me han dicho que Santana tiene un agua muy diferente al resto, que ha ganado premios por todos lados. Pero no es eso, no son los premios, sino es para la comunidad, la agua, la calidad de agua que se consume de la llave.
Wants to know how safe the water is for real. He's been drinking water from the faucet in the morning time. He made coffee and the water didn't taste the same. It didn't smell the same. It doesn't matter what the council are saying, it's same, and they get all these awards.
I'm gonna, yeah.
So is the water safe? 100% bold underline, it's safe. Your drinking water that we provide is, I'll say it again, award-winning, best tasting, safe I drink it myself. I 100% drink it from the tap. It's one of the things when I go out into community meetings, I press upon, we are wasting our own money on bottled water when we sell it for pennies out of the tap, and it's perfectly safe and great tasting to drink. I understand there are individual concerns sometimes, things happen, there's air bubbles, instances where you may question, oh, why does that look a little weird? Feel free to call us. If you give us a call, give us your address, we'll send somebody out and we will test it and go through the motions and with you so you can have a better understanding of from your tap, what's coming out, why it may sometimes look a little cloudy, why sometimes when you're standing over the sink, you get a smell. That's really the smell coming from the drain that you're smelling, not the smell coming from the water. So there's a lot of that kind of outreach that I know is a one-on-one sometimes from this. And, yes, you'll continue to hear me say award-winning, best tasting, but I think until maybe you have that one-on-one assurance, well, I hope you start drinking from the tap and feel confident in it. So if anybody wants to give me their contact information, or actually, I don't mind, I'll say the phone number, but I don't have it written up here. 714-647-3320. That is the direct line to our office in the water department. And you tell us your issue and we'll send somebody out to help you out. 714-647-3320. 714-647-3320.
And Rudy, your team is available whenever there's neighborhood events to do the display to educate.
Yeah, and I'm sorry our team isn't actually here today. I don't know how we didn't have this one on our calendar, but normally for any sort of community outreach, we are at the movies at the park. We are at just about any sort of fair or outreach event that the city has. I think we do somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 events. So we have our people out there with our booths, with our water tasting, with the education. It's something for us that we in our community try to really educate that drinking it from the tap is safe, healthy, cheap. So anyways.
Other questions?
We have one more over here.
So we've also been experiencing another problem related to the water. I don't know if it's part of the cause that is affecting like the plume or whatever, but on Standard, I know there's a lot of businesses that discharge water into the streets, into the drain. One of the council members, I think, used to work there or might currently work at one of those facilities. And he's told us that it's the companies testing their like sprinkler system or something like that, and that they're allowed to discharge this water. Is that something that y'all deal with, or is it something like OSHA, or like, do you happen to know anything in regards to that, or do you know if that's contributing to what we're experiencing here?
I can field that one. Go ahead. Yeah. So I think the site you're referring to is the Bear Paint facility. And what they do is it is a paint warehouse, I believe. It's not a manufacturing at that particular site. I think they just warehouse it. Paints are highly flammable. And so they have a very robust fire suppression system. It's one of the biggest we have in the city. Large pumps, this is pretty impressive. What they are required to do as part of their life safety, making sure that all of their fire suppression systems are working right, is to test those pumps out and run the water. I believe it's once a month. And they've got a big 10-inch pipeline and a big pump running through water. And all that water that they're running as they're testing through their fire sprinkler systems, they have, it's a big, I mean, you've seen it. It's quite a lot of water pretty fast. And they've no other option but to discharge that into the storm drain and the creeks nearby. So it's not facility manufacturer water, that like wastewater from that. Really, what pains us more is that it's wasting water, right? Run all this water and we put it back. But what we've in that side analyzed, well, you're putting it back into the ground, which eventually filters back through. So it's just kind of the water cycle there. But yeah, what you see, we're trying to work with that facility to understand what we can do to maybe recirculate that so that we're not wasting and putting that water up, but it's not a manufacturer kind of dumping wastewater.
But if we see it more than once in a month, then that means something else is going on, or do other facilities do that as well? Or is it just that facility?
If you see it more than a month, I am not 100% familiar with all the facilities that may be doing this one. That particular bear facility stands out because it is so much and so often. And I believe it's once a month. It may be more. Honestly, it's a fire department, life safety kind of thing that they've got to comply with. So anyways, it's the best answer I can give you.
Does the fire department then that sets that standard?
I believe so, yes.
Anybody else? Okay, Max?
Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, everyone. This is really important information, and thank you, the Water District folks, for teaming up and reaching out so that we can have this joint meeting and cover a lot of important issues. So, all right, that concludes it. Please take material to share with your neighbors, and we'll see you at the next neighborhood meeting. Thank you.